Welcome to another episode of the SUPfm Podcast. On this show, we chat with people from the SUP tribe or to people who can help us improve our knowledge and increase our love of both the sport and the water. Every episode is intended to inspire you or to help you to get more deeply immersed in the sport, whatever your current experience level, through my conversations with guests who include leading athletes, scientists, explorers, TED speakers and New York Times best-selling authors. If you'd like to support the podcast, please subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. And if you're doom scrolling, then why not also take the opportunity to make sure that you're following us on Facebook, Instagram and on our new YouTube channel, where you can watch our chat and get some bonus content. This podcast has always been a platform for sharing incredible stories, passing on knowledge and providing inspiration. And in this episode, we're diving into an innovative event happening later this year in the UK that embodies all of these elements. No matter where you are in the world, we believe you'll still find this of interest due to its unique approach. And this event is redefining the SUP experience by focusing not just on having fun and competing on the water, but also on making the sport accessible to everyone, regardless of age, fitness, skill or experience level, from complete beginners to seasoned paddlers. Building on the hard work of others in this space, this event aims to broaden the horizons of paddleboarders who may only have seen the sport so far as a beachside activity, and to welcome them into the warm embrace and the aloha spirit of the SUP community. There's a lot covered here, and if you're able to make it for the event, we'd love to see you. If you're listening from outside the UK, we hope that there'll be something in here of value to encourage the sport in your country. So here's my chat with the head honcho of SUP 12 and the Super Championships, and also my co-collaborator and streaming partner, Sarah SUP Junkie Thornley, in the latest episode of the SUPfm Podcast. Well, a huge welcome back to the show to Sarah Thornley and Brendon Prince. And for people who haven't met you both already, you've both been guests on a few occasions, and we will leave the links to your interviews in the show notes. Sarah is an ex-national champion for SUP who has focused her skills since retiring from racing to SUP Junkie, which is an organisation focused on supporting and developing SUP across racing and other flavours, and through her writing, interviews, photography and live streams of UK and international events. Brendon is the first and so far the only person to circumnavigate Britain on a SUP, which he did in 2021, and you can see that all in the film Circumnavigate. And he also runs the charity Above Water, which is an anti-drowning charity, and he is also the creator of races and events which include SUP 12, which me and Sarah have had the honour of supporting with an over 12-hour live stream. And he's also the creator of the subject of today's session, which is Super Champs, the English Riviera Championships, running from the 27th to the 29th of September 2024, which is a great celebration of the sport, of racing, of competition, and the inclusive nature of the sport. So great to have you both back on.
Awesome to be here. Thank you for that, Simon.
Thank you, Simon. Brilliant to be here.
So let's just reflect very quickly on SUP 1224, because it was another huge success. It was the second year the race was run, and while you can't really measure an event's vibes, it's one that definitely built on the previous year, and the vibes really carry on well after the 12 hours of paddling has passed. And I felt from being involved in it, the second one did feel more special than the first one, if that was possible. So, Brendon, what are your reflections on SUP 12 now we're looking back at it after a couple of months?
It's kind of you to say those very lovely words. It does pile the pressure on for year 3, though, to obviously create a bigger and better vibe each time. Do you know what? I think it's quite simple. If you've got 100 people who are putting the most amazing effort in for 12 hours, you can't help but have a collective vibe where everybody's just in it together and, achieving together, whatever that might be. That might be, 100K in that 12 hours. It might be 10K that hour, because we're all in it together going through the journey, and you guys are commenting on those endeavors. It can't fail but to just be a positive vibe, a positive, just motivation for life. It takes you out of the daily grind, doesn't it? And you're doing something completely different for 12 hours. So yeah, that's my take on it.
And Sarah, what are your feelings coming out of it? Because obviously the venue changed, and I think again added to it, and also highlighted the wide opportunities for paddling in the Torbay area.
Absolutely, and people are a bit funny about change, aren't they? They like things to be as they were last time, but life's not like that, and we should embrace change. I thought the venue was fantastic. Some people preferred it, so no pressure, Brendon. But I think you've got those opportunities in that locality to have a spot where it's safer, for people to paddle. But I just think the people watching, the people paddling, the inspirational stories that came out of it the first time as the ones who've been racing for 10 years who got involved. It was a real cross section of people, and seeing the photographs and looking back on the live feed, it just brings that excitement level up. And that difference between year 1 and 2 was just, huge. Year 1 was amazing. Year 2 was brilliant. So yeah, bring on year 3.
And who knows where year 3 might take place. Who knows?
You've almost heard it here first. Who knows what's in Brendon's mind? It's always going to be good, but so far 100% success and a fantastic experience. And I think just to finish off on SUP12, and I don't know of any other events where social media posts and people leaving comments and photos and sharing information has carried on so long after the event. I still see the odd post going on social media, but certainly the first 3 weeks after the event were quite incredible and quite intense, weren't they, Sarah?
They really were. I mean, people were just chucking stuff up there and just really engaging. And I think the fact that we had some international paddlers as well, who were either encouraged or off their own back, came to the event, loved it. People doing it because it was different, something they'd never done before. They might be those seasoned paddlers, but maybe just doing adventure paddling, like Kaz Dawson. She just did it as a preamble to the Amazon, and just incredible. It was just lovely, and that social media just kept coming in, didn't it? And the photographs kept dropping in. It's just lovely to have those great memories, definitely.
So we're all in violent agreement about all of that, which is good. So let's look ahead then to Super Champs 24. Obviously another event that you've inspired and organised. Could you just give us a quick overview of the event and what inspired you to create it?
I think it's the last few years of just seeing other events in other countries and just seeing how we are quite a long way behind with the volume of people who are trying racing. And people don't know what they don't know. So let's put more events on for people to be involved in a race of the smallest to the largest sort of scale. And we do some great events in the UK, but it's about giving people who perhaps have had 2 or 3 seasons with their inflatable paddleboard and just being as a recreationist to think, actually, I could try this and I might actually love it. And actually, especially if they're, any age, actually, not young necessarily, they could be flipping good at it. So let's give them the opportunity to just, from a raw level, see what they can do and achieve and get from it. So it was just a case of highlighting the local area and going, let's put on everything from 25 meter sprints to 14K distance event, coastal orientated, but we'll also sheltered water because we've got the harbour and inner harbour to kind of play with, and put on an event for a whole weekend. But also I've really seen from my aspect of paddling, sponsors, to get a sponsor for the long paddle was a lot easier than getting sponsors nowadays, because the industry is just getting by. So can we give a weekend opportunity for brands and retail to, make the most of a weekend? And that's why we're not charging these brands or retail to come and just sell their wares, get a bit of a boost at the end of the season. But also that boosts the competitors and spectators because it all creates the vibe. And we're just putting this all together as a weekend because we've got big plans to bring international events to the UK. And we've got to have a really good solid footing to be able to do so. this is the start of the journey.
And that leads me rather neatly on to ask you about Torbay, because obviously myself and Sarah have spent a bit of time there recently. It's almost our second home, actually, but it's a great location because it's got all of the infrastructure for people who are coming to watch and participate, and also the water locations to be able to support a really exciting and big event, which this is building to become. So for people who've never been to this area, could you just explain what makes it such a great location for this kind of celebration of SUP?
Well, Torbay is exactly that. It's a bay, and it's a perfectly sized bay. So it's about 7 kilometres from headland to headland, which gives enough water to just have a spectacular time. But it also means it's not too much water in there. So it's fairly sheltered water with 3 towns, 3 tourist towns. So those tourist towns obviously offer all the back beach elements, hospitality you could possibly wish for, parking, everything you need, but also the paddling. So, the only reason I'm still motivated by SUP, because I paddle 2, 3, 4 hours a day, is because there's so much on offer here. And I go outwards, left or right, wherever I go, there's something for me to do. And it's about sharing that we've got so many beaches. We've got so much headlands. We've got gnarly areas and we've got placid areas and everything in between. So sharing that environment into a competition, I've got the benefit of seeing every single beach in the UK, and we've got amazing beaches if the conditions are right at that particular time. And there are very few environments where no matter what the conditions you're doing, you can still paddle. And in Torbay, that gives exactly that. It's unique. It is unique.
So perfect for events of this sort. There's got to be some specific weather conditions, I guess, that would impact paddling, at least somewhere in the area. And obviously the flexibility of it was shown by switching the venue of SUP 12 so easily and it being such an incredible success. So it's a fantastic area to host a championship of this sort. So we'll get into the specifics of the various different races and the opportunities for all skill levels of racing and participation. But one of the more eye-catching elements from the championships is that if you're coming down from Scotland or from Northern Ireland, you get your entry for free. And that's something novel, I think, for events of this sort. Could you just tell me about that? Because I don't think I've ever heard of that concept before in any racing event.
Well, I've got a very good perception of distance of the UK, having paddled around it. And I really appreciate the fact that a majority of races happen in the South Coast kind of area. And if you live, in Scotland or Northern Ireland, and having obviously paddled around Northern Ireland and seeing their race scene and what they've got there, if we can do anything to just encourage, and I appreciate, we're not talking large sums that they're saving anyway, but just any little bit to kind of help and encourage them to come to try an event and all being together, because their style of paddling and personalities and, whether Scotland, Northern Ireland, really add to an event and add to the vibe. And it would just be great if we can get some paddlers from those areas. I just feel sorry that obviously if you live in the border of, let's say, Northern England, that, we can't. It's really hard to do a defining line to support, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from on that.
Absolutely. And just talking about Northern Ireland, we have, I guess he's an ambassador for SUP 12 up in Northern Ireland, Gavin Knox, who joined us in the last 2 iterations. And there is a hugely vibrant scene up there in Northern Ireland that it's really important that we encourage down here.
Absolutely. And, that's that whole approach, that whole kind of UK-wide GB and Northern Ireland approach, I think is so important. Not just for this event, but just in our governance and the way we look at stand-up paddleboarding and promote it in the years ahead.
Champs is designed to make sure there are opportunities for all types of paddlers of all skill levels to take part. And obviously there are, as you mentioned, the distance and the technical races, which are familiar to regular racers on the national circuit. But just talk to me in a bit more detail about newcomers and first-time racers and the sort of opportunities there are for them to participate.
Well, the kind of 2 foot in the door approach is the 25-metre sprints, which I personally feel will be an absolute blast, because do you need to be a competent technical paddler to do 25-metre sprints, or could you just actually do really well by smashing the water out of your way and doing that? So 25-meter sprints, I think, will be an enlightenment for people just to come and give it a go. They can use their own boards, or we'll have races where they have to do it collectively on the same board, because that offer that one board approach design thing. But also we'll have specific events in the old NISCO style where we supply the boards. All you do is drop in with your paddle and you give a distance a go. And those distances are 500 or 1,000 meters. Again, all those three events, the 25 meters, the 500 and 1,000 meters, will all be on the inner harbour. So properly placid water. You just got to negotiate yourself around boats.
And those have been pretty fun in the past. And I know, Sarah, those are races that you competed in and have enjoyed. Just take us through that one design approach to racing and why it's so good for new paddlers.
Yeah, well, this concept was thought up by Alex Tobbott of Nash, and what an amazing concept it was. And I think it ran for about 5 years. And yeah, I was heavily involved with just competing because it was such great fun, and you were all on the NISCO or the Nash boards, 12 foot 6 by 30. You all had to have the same fin. You couldn't change anything out. The only thing that could be your own was your paddle. So it was very, very specific. But when I think of all the people that I met and all the people who did it without even knowing almost what they were doing, coming down just to have a go and being either terrified or so excited, more excited, than just it was a really, really good event for bringing people together, and it absolutely felt like a family event. Everybody looked after each other, everybody encouraged each other, and a lot of those people who did those races were either racing at the same time, so doing other races. This was part of the fun, and it was tough as well. It almost sounds like it wouldn't be a tough thing to do, but it is super tough, really, really tough, and very, very competitive. But people who had never paddled before could also come along and join in the fun. And that was what it was all about. It was, if you were watching, it was quite giggle worthy as well, but it just encouraged people to have a go. There was no pressure of someone with, that beautiful carbon race board who you might feel quite intimidated by. This was a level playing field. And, some of those top races didn't fare very well. It really was an open door to anybody to have a go or anybody to win a certain part of it. So it was a really, people, you can tell by the way I'm talking about it, people just got very emotionally invested in it. And whenever you talk about the UK NISCO one design racing, people sort of glaze over a little bit and just have beautiful, beautiful memories of it. I've met some amazing people through that event. The Northern SUP race team used to come down, Cassie used to come down as well with her group of paddlers and be thoroughly invested in the event. So it's great whether you're either a pro racer but just so inclusive for those people. I think Anthony once taught someone I think it was the Swanage or Emsworth event, and they said, "What's going on?" And he explained, he'd not done it, but he explained what it was. And he said, "Have a go." And literally within a few minutes, they were on a board, getting involved. So that, that's the beauty of it. And one design racing is just the best fun. So there is a bit of a push to bring it back for sure.
Excellent. It's great to encourage it through the events that we're running at the Super Championships. So you've covered the 25-metre sprints there, Brendon, but there's another event which is quite unusual to have at these sorts of race events, which is SUP Polo. So Sarah, again, I'm leaning on your expertise on this again, because I know you've played quite a bit of SUP Polo in your time. Can you just explain what it is and why it's such a great activity, both for people taking part but also for spectators?
Yeah, again, another brilliant spectator sport, and obviously Torbay lends itself to spectators watching, so it's a great showcase for what is a wonderful, wonderful fun sport, but so good for your board skills, and you have to be, well, you don't have to be super fit, but it does help, but it's just so much fun. And we saw it first at a Starboard convention in Spain. I was lucky enough to go over to that with Brian and the Blue Chip Supper Club. We went to look at the new boards and everything, and they were showcasing SUP Polo in the pool, and it was just wonderful. And Brian I guess he just connected with it. Some things you do and some things you don't, and he just thought that's a no-brainer. So he invested in the kit, brought it over. It's been played by Blue Chip for, gosh, it must be 10 years or something. And Brian is constantly evolving and trying to get people involved in it because it's so much fun. Steve Llewellyn, who is one of our club members, probably the best player in the country, his sole mission when he's paddleboarding is practicing his SUP Polo board skills. That's what he does on the Thames. Take a ball up to the weir and just keep popping it in there and waiting for it to come back and practicing his skills. But there are many clubs in the country who have been encouraged to come and join us at the SUP Polo Championships at Surbiton. We've now got the court set up on the River Thames. So historically, we used to be at Guildford Lido, which was brilliant. That just became way too expensive for people to come and just play for a couple of hours on a Saturday morning. So it's now all at the club, and he's got permission to put the sausage shapes out there onto the Thames. It doesn't take up the whole Thames, so he's got the court out there. And every other weekend, you'll see the Blue Chip boys and girls practicing. I don't do it anymore because I've got lower back issues and it's not good for that. But as I say, for your ball skills and for the fun factor and your fitness, it is wonderful. And at Blue Chip, we really want to encourage newcomers to come along and have a go. And just to have a go, you may not have ever been on a board before, but you can certainly have a go at polo. And we've got some great teachers who will teach you just how to get the best out of it. It's a brilliant, brilliant sport to play and watch for sure. And I'm really excited that Brian and the team they've got the hotel, but hotels have been booked for months because they're coming down and they're going to showcase it for you, aren't they, Brendon?
And in the next week or so, we'll put it out there for any more teams that want to come. And it's happening all day on the Saturday. So from 9ish till 5ish, all day on the Saturday, that'll be going on the inner harbour, which is 50 metres away from the hub of Super Champs at Hampton by Hilton. It is right next to the 25-metre sprints and is only hundreds of metres from all the other events. So that's going to be the core where people could just come and watch through the course of the day, and it'll be a real spectacle and just a joy to see in that space.
Really look forward to maybe turning out as in a cameo appearance in at least one of those sessions in SUP Polo. Fantastic. And as you say, it's a great way of building skills and working together. But yeah, that sounds absolutely epic. And sort of looking again at some of the other aspects of the event. So I know that there's entertainment and other activities that we might not have mentioned already. So there's lots of opportunities for people to get involved, even if they come down and watch. Particularly, obviously, we want to encourage people to take part. But what other sorts of entertainment and bits and pieces have we got going on? And I think there's a hub, isn't there, for all the activity that's going on over the weekend?
Yeah, so end of September traditionally should be glorious. Proper Indian summer, that's the type of weather we'll have, I'm sure, especially in the English Riviera. But on the off chance that it's a little bit more, we haven't had the best of summers this year, have we? So who knows on that. So we have Hampton by Hilton have a beautiful, incredibly monstrous for our area conference hall, which they have actually got sorted, and we will be the first event in there. So we're going to take over the whole conference hall, which basically means we'll have seating for 100 people to listen to some really cool stuff that's going on, talks, keynote speeches, all that type of thing in around the industry of SUP. And I'll come back to give you an exclusive about that in a second. Our registration will be there. There'll be coffee, tea, bars right in there. So all in one place. And then a really exciting bit is at the minute, we've got 32 retails and brands who have signed up to be in this space. And we've got room for up to 45. So it's going to be a real kind of expo of you to come and see the great and the good of SUP and water sport. So if you've been looking at that paddle, chances are they'll be there and you can see and test that paddle out, or board, or kit, and everything in between. So I'm really excited that through the course of the weekend, not only can you paddle, not only can you spectate, but you can come and be part of that vibe as well.
Yes, and for all of those of you who operate with boards on the same basis as I do, which is your board requirement, it's X plus 1, X being the number of boards that you've got currently, then, there's some huge opportunities to come and test and try things out. And there are a lot of all sorts of brands coming down as well. So that is excellent. Very, very exciting. So just moving on, obviously there's a partnership happening with the brands because you're inviting them to come down for free in order to exhibit. And I know that there are some key lead partners involved as well. So Paddle UK being one of them, Torbay Council, those are two of them. Could you just talk about their role in getting behind the event and supporting it?
Well, one thing that I think is absolutely brilliant, and I'm so proud that this will be happening because it's needed, is Paddle UK. I've given them an hour slot where is Paddle, come and have a chat with Paddle UK. Come and ask them questions. What has Paddle UK done since they've taken over our world of SUP? What do they propose to do? What actions are in place? This is going to be the forum where you've got the key people from Paddle UK sat, and we can throw questions at them and they can answer. And we've put aside an hour to do that. Now, I think that's needed. And good on them for thinking that it's also needed and they want to come and do it. So, with Paddle UK's involvement with the international events that we've got planned, because obviously they need to be involved and must be involved with all of that. It's just showing that our intent as we move forward for investing in racing, investing in this type of competition element to SUP.
They've made such a huge contribution. They've hit the ground running, haven't they, in their status as the new governing body. And there are lots of plans, I know, and there's lots of learning that's been involved so far in their capacity as managing SUP. That's all good stuff to look forward to. Now, we've actually had a listener's question here from a Mrs. Trellis in West Sussex who has asked this one, and I don't know who wants to answer this one, Brendon or Sarah. And she's asked, for those who can't attend in person, how will Super Champs provide access to the excitement? Is there any live streaming or media coverage? Sarah?
I think that's all on you, Sarah, because you can announce how amazing you are and how you're going to support.
Well, that's a great question, Mrs. Trellis from West Sussex. And yes, the whole event will be live streamed. I think it will be a little bit of a stop-start, dropping into various sessions. Simon and I haven't quite worked out how we're going to do that, but having done SUP 12 2 years running and hopefully done that pretty successfully, that's why we've been asked to join the Super Champs, I'm guessing, because you have faith in us, which we absolutely appreciate, Brendon. Thank you so much for inviting us to do it. There'll be lots going on, and I'm guessing it will all go out on the SUP Junkie channel, which is normal. Again, we haven't really talked about that, but it will be live streamed, and leading up to the event, we'll be throwing out lots of exciting news about how you can watch it. So the best thing to do social media wise is follow supjunkie.uk, SUPfm Podcast, and you, Brendon. Brendon Prince Along Paddle, is that the best one to follow, Brendon?
Brendon Prince SUP, and also Super Championships, the two ones to follow because I share everything on that.
Yeah, but I think again, it's really important, isn't it, to, especially with a new event, to actually get the photographs, get the live stream out, get it showcased to people who may have decided not to come this time, and to just show the level of hopefully excitement. Hopefully it'll be super sunny and we can showcase those 25-metre sprints. We can showcase the SUP Polo, and equally we can showcase, the not more important, but the different aspects of racing. So 14K, the tech, which is always, if you've got the in and out text, that's always very exciting. So it will definitely be live streamed. We know that we've got the good coverage down there as well. So that's always useful to know. We've been there before and been at those venues. So we're really looking forward to it. So 3 days of work this time. Bring it on.
Yeah, we're really excited about this, Brendon, and really appreciate our involvement and getting involved and hopefully spreading a bit of the vibe. So a final question to you about this, and it's more about the long-term goals for Super Champs. and how is it that you see this event evolving in the coming years, particularly in terms of accessibility and community engagement?
Yeah, I mean, this is the start of a journey, and it's been a big part of my life for the last 6 months, just getting this up and running and what we're doing, because we're trying to make it as inclusive, sustainable, and getting the community involved for this foundation to then, which is not hidden, that we've bid for a World Grand Prix in 2026. And at the minute, we're very close to that. Can't say any more than that at the minute. With a view to bringing a World Championships to the UK soils. So, that's, I think, one of the best ways we will promote to our youth. I want my children, my sons are 17 and 15. How better to promote to them to get involved and for them to see the world's best on our shores here, so they can emulate, they can try and achieve. And so it's trying to bring all that to the UK that, there's an appetite for. I think sometimes we haven't had that direction to make that happen, that bigger picture to make it happen. And the Super Champs and an environment like the English Riviera, Torbay, can offer that. So that is the journey that we're on. It's a complicated one. It's obviously has to be supported by sponsors, has to be supported by industry, commercial. Otherwise, these things just don't happen because there isn't money, pots of government money like there used to be. So, always, if you want to be involved with the Super Champs from a commercial aspect, from a supporting, sponsoring aspect, please just get hold of one of us, and we can see what we can do to work as a partnership with you.
That's fantastic and a great point to end on. Thanks, guys, for coming on. Really excited about this real festival of SUP. So it's on from the 27th to the 29th of September in Torbay. Free entry to Scottish and Northern Irish paddlers, and it's going to be a real celebration and open to anyone who wants to get on the water, isn't frightened of getting wet. So come down and we'll immerse you in the healing, immersive vibes of SUP. We'll be there all weekend doing the live streaming. Come down and try something new. Come and watch. Come and have a chat with us. You might also get onto the live stream. So, Sarah, anything to finish up with?
No, I just think come and play. What could be better than hopefully a sunny weekend in Torbay at the end of the summer? It sounds great, regardless of whether you're into SUP or not. But obviously, we want the people who are into stand-up paddleboarding. We want those beginners, those enthusiasts. Just come and join us. It's going to be a great vibe. Good people involved.
And Brendon, any final thoughts?
Well, really, just check out the website, superchampionships.com. Every day, things are being added and evolving on that. So, of course, we're on organically growing, but help and support for hospitality is coming in. So there are more and more opportunities for places to stay, and we can guide you to the best places for you. And those hospitalities are aware that you're potentially paddleboarders. So they're going to know that you're going to be bringing paddle boards and paddles that need to be stored away, and you're going to be wet and sandy. And it's all that collective approach that we need to harbour. And that's happening. So check out the website, superchampionships.com. That's all the latest information. And of course, Super Championships on all the socials. So please, just check it out and support and follow.
Thanks again for chatting. We'll see you in September. All links will be in the show notes, and I hope if you're listening you'll check it out too. And until then, we'll see you on the water.
God bless.
Thank you, Simon.